never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to Neff Inspiration, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stephan Neff. Today, as we are recording that, it is the day 101 of the war in Gaza, where after Israel has been brutally attacked by Hamas. And I can't imagine a better guest to have on my show than Rob Wolf. Rob is a physician colleague from the United States who has taken the time and invested the effort in collecting the story of his father, who was a Hungarian Jew, and the tumultuous years and escapes from first the Nazis, then the communists, and all those lessons that need to be told, need to be learned by the nowadays generations, because unfortunately, history is not being taught anymore. History comes in snippets and little pieces of shit that often enough is not even anywhere close to the truth. Therefore, it is so important to have someone like Rob here on the show to actually spell it out as it was then, and then draw the conclusions and look at the lessons that we can learn today in 2024 as another potential Holocaust is building. Rob, thank you very much for being a guest on my show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Man, bloody hell. Were you aware of were you aware of the deeds of your father, or was your father actually truly a member of the silent generation? Did he ever speak about his past?
Such a great question. You know, when I was a kid growing up, high school, college, med school, all my parents wanted me to just be a successful kid, just go to school, get educated, freedom of speech, but freedom of education. That was my parents' big thing. I guess they were proud when I graduated medical school, I suppose. I mean, I was engaged and I got married soon after and all that. Seems like a whole lifetime ago. But yeah, my parents were proud. I can see why. I mean, my dad was a doctor. Dad ended up being an OBGYN. Here's the punchline of the whole thing. Dad ended up being an OBGYN and delivered 10,000 babies in the Detroit area after all he went through. 4 escapes, 2 wars, parents killed at Auschwitz. My mom's grandfather killed at Auschwitz, a rabbi. So hell yeah, my parents were they were proud and they were hardworking and amazingly resilient after everything they went through. And so when I finally read my dad's book, I read it once maybe when I was 30, 35 years old. They wrote it in the 1970s. My dad's story, an autobiography, from pencil and paper to typewriter to computer to disc. And I read the manuscript once and didn't think much of it. I remembered his first escape, but didn't remember much else until many, many years later. Then I read the book again and said, "Oh my God, these miracles, the wonders." The luck on this guy, The Sopranos, the frickin' luck on this guy. I mean, never mind the luck of the Irish, the luck of the Jewish. I prefer to think of the finger of God, but the luck of my dad. And so my dad's stories brought me to, and, I had my own career going in and out of career and this and that. And so I read my dad's book, his wrote in the 70s, but 2016, 2018, finally on a disc, a historian friend of my mom, after dad passed, mom passed, they showed me the story, read it, and I said, oh my God, I got to share this with the world. And the stories were there, the mysteries, the miracles, the antisemitism. I mean, I couldn't even imagine 4 or 5 years ago when I started this project that what's going on now couldn't be more salient. And I'm here to fight it now. And the fight becomes stronger. My slippery slope became more slippery. I don't know if you have mountains in New Zealand. I don't know if you have skiing, but in Michigan too, and in the United States, the thing goes like this, right? So, but I'm fighting it tooth and nail. So anyway, my dad was lucky man, lucky to survive. Mom was lucky to survive. 4 escapes. I don't know. Ask me any question about it, and I'll say, I don't want to hear it, except I'm fighting anti-Semitism. I'm fighting malfeasance. murder, torture, anti-Semitism,
And
on and on.
And we will come to that. But coming back to your childhood, was your mom and dad's faith still strong, or were they left despaired about everything that had occurred to them?
Great question. Never. My mom and dad's faith were as strong as any. I grew up in I was trained. I took Hebrew school. I was in a Orthodox temple. I was one of the last people bar mitzvah in the Orthodox temple in my hometown, a small town, suburban Detroit in Michigan. The west side of Michigan had a bunch of synagogues. The east side of Michigan, where I was, one synagogue in the whole county, 100 families. But strong back in the day. Now it's a dwindling. Unfortunately, it's a dwindling congregation. But my mom, until she died, was there strong. So they raised me not Orthodox, but conservative, but in Orthodox temple, bar mitzvah in Orthodox temple, taught all the Hebrew school and everything. So yeah, they were strong in their faith. Very popular, very well respected in the medical community, as my dad was an OBGYN, end up delivering 10,000 babies in the Detroit area. That's the punchline. I mean, redemption, and respected in the medical community, the Jewish community, the general community. Mom and dad believed in education, history, the arts, opera, theater. They were not tied down. They were not locked in to post-traumatic stress as you would think they would be. And that's the thing. I mean, they moved on with their lives once they got to the United States and reestablished their lives. They educated about the Holocaust. They educated about prejudice and racism and anti-Semitism and history, but they still moved on with their lives. So amazing what they did.
Which a great part of me understands that, but there is another part of me who wonders about the resentment and the anger. Did your parents try to get out of Europe under the Nazi regime? Because certainly we know that the anti-Semitism in the Western world was ripe. 20,000 or so a year Jews were taken by the United States. UK pitiful. Basically, no one wanted the Jews, despite the fact that it was well known, probably 2 years prior to the official, we heard about Auschwitz, people knew that what was going on, yet no one actually opened their arms. No one wanted the Jews. Was that the experience of your parents?
Well, that's I've read about that, and really that's a hard thing to swallow because it was hit and miss with that. This boat got accepted, this boat didn't. This country, China, Taiwan, whatever, they accepted, they didn't. The United States was slow behind the 8 ball. And now, I mean, I don't know about New Zealand and Australia, but in the United States, we've got a porous border right now. I mean, as you may or may not know, and it's a little scary because everybody and their mother's coming in, including suspected terrorists maybe, and smugglers and people trafficking. And at the time, my dad was in a forced labor camp, so he had no choice. He was stuck in a forced labor camp, probably saved his life. He was young, he was in his 20s, and that, he was useful. So it saved his life.
I see what you mean.
My dad's
that was in Hungary under the German occupation.
Hungary under the Nazi regime. We're talking about mid or early 40s, 43, 44, 1943, 44. Hungary didn't really get that affected until those years. And then, eventually dad was pulled off to a forced labor camp, and it was very tough for him. And he escaped from 2 of them, one out in the middle of nowhere, which is great. This is his first escape, and unbelievable story. And then he got corralled. They called it the dog pound. He got double crossed and ended up in the dog pound and ended up in another forced labor camp. And he and his friend Frank escaped a second time from there, right in front of Nazi headquarters. Another amazing story. I mean, the luck and the smarts on these guys, but they didn't have any choice. They didn't have any choice. You weren't going to leave the country at this point. All you want to do is survive. And once they left, whatever they left, they were on the run for months, either finding a new job or new hiding place and scrounging for food, money, whatever they could get. So they didn't really have many choices. And mom, with not much, my mom didn't write a lot about her memoirs but I do know that she hid in farmland with her mother and grandmother fortunately. So they were out of the thick of things for the most part. They were out of Budapest. They were out of the thick of Hungary, and just hid and hid and hid, and lucked out, and eventually ended up in Budapest and went to medical school, and as my dad did too. So they were very short of doctors after World War II because so many people got killed. So they were looking for new doctors. Hungary was short, and they started even allowing Jews back into medical school, including my mom and my dad. And it was a 10% quota, and really sad, but 10% quota, but they took it. They were the best of the breed, so they got back in. So very difficult, and took my dad months after he escaped, and after the war was over, took him months to find out what happened to his parents. And he finally found out by an eyewitness that he just happened to run into in his hometown of Jur, small town in Hungary. So just the luck of the draw there, or the unluck, because nobody wants to hear the bad news. So, but that's how it was. So they were survivors, but not only, yeah.
And it is so hard for us to imagine that nowadays, sitting here, we are both well fed. We have got no real difficulties having access to food. Your father would have been in a labor camp / concentration camp. With basically 800 calories if he's lucky, 600, a bit of moldy bread and some water with it. Welcome to survival. And do that for months and years. You can imagine what a toll that leaves on your body, leaves on your brain, leaves on your abilities. And here he gets this energy and pulls it all together, and actually then is able to somehow get on with it. Now it's so hard for us to imagine that. I don't think any one of us can really put their mind to it. And we often think,
I completely agree. That was the motivation for writing the book, is whatever happened to my dad and his friend Frank could happen to any one of us anytime. It could be a civil war, bad neighbor, bad business deal, local government, national government, foreign government. Your life can change in a day. And that's the thing with the book too. You can put yourself in my dad's shoes in a heartbeat and say, you do whatever you got to do to survive. And that's what they did. Food was scarce, but whatever food they had, Dad was put in charge of distributing the food in the forced labor camp because they trusted him. He was the guy. He had the integrity. They relied on peasants. They snuck out sometimes from their little barracks, whatever they had. These crappy barracks. Sometimes it was animal stables. The local peasants, they would give them whatever rations they would have, and out of mercy for a good price, all at the risk of their lives, all of them. So, and they did it. I mean, they survived. But so that's changed my life just in itself. Like taking food for granted. Here in beautiful southern Florida, food is abundant, but we have plenty of homeless, we have plenty of begging, we have plenty of wasted food and drink and ice and water. And to me, after reading my dad's story and learning about it, it's like, you guys, you got to stop and think about what we got here, because God forbid we get a natural disaster, a nuclear war, a chemical war, a terrorist attack, or whatever the hell. Now we're talking about big ticket items, not just and any of that can happen. We could all be in the same situation, on the run, starving, looking for food, looking for safe shelter. And then what are you running from? I mean, what are you running to? My dad finally, he's free. The war's over. He's got to find out what happened to his parents. Got to go back to his own house, and he finds out he's got nothing. He's still got to start all over again. A Jewish man. And even the communists said, well, what do we do with all these Jewish people that survived? Where do they put them? Factories and farms. Factories and farms, and very sad, including professional people. I mean,
absolutely. I'm so pleased that you say that, because we always paint these justifiably horrible picture about the German occupation and the German death camps, all the bad things that my country, my ancestors have done. When you then see what, however, came after May 45 in the vast majority of Europe, my goodness, the anti-Semitism wasn't gone. On the contrary, it just had a different name, if it had a name at all. It was just the same behavior. And it's quite interesting what you say with regards to what shall we do with these Jews? Because meanwhile, Hungarians or whoever else was now in a more or less top dog role, well, they had taken the houses of the Jews. They had taken properties, etc. Now, a Jew came back out of the concentration camp. Guess what his chance was of having his things back? Exactly.
Zero. Nil. Nil, as they say. Yeah, nil. So no doubt about it. So we talk about that. And my dad goes back to his house and he finds out that his parents aren't there, and he needs to get a policeman to actually get permission to go and look in the place and see if there's anything that belongs to him. And turns out there's almost nothing. It's a Christian family that can't be mad at them. It's just the way things were. You had to hand it. Nobody's going to say you can't just take this house or whatever. I mean, it's not. It's sad. I mean, the way the military dictates how you were, and especially the wrong-thinking military, and so it's very disturbing right now to hear anti-Semitism on the rise, and especially African American superstars. Mel Gibson, Roger Waters, Pink Floyd. I don't know if you've ever heard of Pink Floyd in New Zealand. Roger Waters, great musician, a great band, but he's, you know what? He needs to read my book. Mel Gibson needs to read my book. Kanye, the very big, the black who's talked out about anti-Semitism, needs to read my book. And that's my ticket for. And ultimately, my book should be taught in the classroom, and that's where I'm at. Too.
Why?
Not about New Zealand and Australia, because I don't know how anti-Semitism is in New Zealand and Australia. I imagine minimal, but who knows? But I know
we have got racism. Yes, there's not a strong Jewish community here. There are some Jews here, absolutely, but it's not really something tangible. It's certainly nowhere close to the kind of overt anti-Semitism that we see throughout Europe, throughout Eastern Europe specifically, and in the United States. I was blown away after the 8th of October. The very rapid, within 24, 48 hours, the change from, oh my God, Hamas has slaughtered people to, oh, well, these Jews, they really had it coming, isn't it? And you think, what, for crying out loud, have we not learned? What the hell is going on? How can you yourself, you're living in the United States, man. You're an educated man. You're looking around. How the hell can you explain to yourself what you're seeing there in the, probably leftist kind of universities? I might just maybe understand that, but I mean, it's so much wider. Why? Where's this coming from?
It's appalling. Well, a lot of these kids, truthfully, don't even know what 911 was. 911, they weren't even around when 911 was happening, or they were just little kids. So we'll refresh them about 911. 911 was American targets, not Jewish targets. Chinese people died, Asian people, Muslims, Jewish, Christian, 3,000 and change. And when I say that, I mean, one person dying is enough. 3,000 plus died in that. So then all of a sudden, there's this big attack against all Muslims, like all Muslims are bad. And screw that. That's not true. Most Muslims are not bad. One of my best friends, my college roommate, Muslim. We did a book talk in a Greek Orthodox church in Arizona, and my assistant was one of my best friends, a Muslim. So we got a Jewish guy and a Muslim guy in a Greek Orthodox church doing a talk about
Brilliant.
my dad's story, and it was well received. So there you go. So I'm just saying that. And I have more Christian and Muslim and as many as Jewish friends. So anyway, 9/11 was all targets, the United States, but people forgot about it. So, and now, fueling the fire with something like that, it's just appalling. I mean, it's just, what are you thinking? What is these Harvard kids picking on some Jewish kid who's pre-med or pre-law? All he wants to do is go to med school or law school. Would have been me in college, and if I was on the football team, if the kid was on the football team, he'd beat the crap out of these guys. He wouldn't put up, but they're picking on these little kids or whatever they can. And, finally, something's being done about it. Now we have presidents of these universities resigning, which is appropriate. We've got alumni that are they're blocking their donations to these universities and these saying, and they're not just Jewish. I mean, Jewish and otherwise. It's like these are our future leaders in our country. I still think the United States is a great country. I don't know New Zealand. I don't know Australia. If I got to leave, then maybe that's where I'll get in my rowboat and paddle over there, because it ain't Canada now. It's not Canada, because Canada's even worse than the United States. It's horrible. But
as far as anti-Semitism is concerned,
in Canada, hell yeah, it's worse. They're the graffiti, not only graffiti, they set fire to a Jewish-owned deli in Toronto, where I have cousins that live there. I mean, you got to be kidding me. I mean, these people, what do they have to do with Hamas and Palestine and Gaza? They got nothing to do with it. I mean, these are just, and we're scared. You know, we're an endangered species. There only are 17 million Jews in the whole world, of 7 billion. And then a friend of mine just said there's only 16 million Jews, and probably most of them are in Israel and Brooklyn, New York. I mean, I'm kidding, but I mean, there's not that Miami here too. Down here we've got, and believe me, I'm telling people about the book. I got a lot of talks and podcasts, and I want the book to be taught in the classroom. And so going back to the colleges, that's the thing. The book's got to be taught in the classroom. The book's got to be taught to our kids, our grandkids, and not just my book, a million other Holocaust-related books. But thing with my book is, the Nazis didn't treat the Jews that great, and they got out of it, and we won the war. And then they happened the communists, and that wasn't so great. My parents had an illegal Jewish wedding. You couldn't even be Jewish and have a Jewish wedding. It had to be secretly done. So you got to be kidding me. And when they did that, the host of their wedding, this is during the plot to kill Stalin in 1953, Mom's uncle, they sponsored a real Jewish wedding, KGB there. My mom's poor uncle, chief of surgery in a Budapest hospital, hauled away for 13 months and tortured and punished. And you got to be kidding me. I mean, it's short of being corralled into train rails and concentration camps. The communists didn't treat them any better. So,
well, the
you're
gulags.
Jewish, you're screwed. You're Jewish, you're a Jew, you're screwed. I mean, and I'm feeling that way now, but believe me, I'm fighting it tooth and nail, whether by podcasts or talks or in the book on the shelves or book in the classrooms, one at a time. You know what? You're not better than me. And I'm not saying we're not. Look, we can fight about that. I'll take you in the boxing ring. I'm a doctor. I'm a third generation of doctors. Dad was an OBGYN. He delivered 10,000 babies in Detroit. After all he'd been through, his dad was a dentist. He used to give away free treatment for the more impoverished in their hometown. And then he was a Navy captain in World War I on a Red Cross ship. And you're killing him. You take him off to Auschwitz and killing him because he's Jewish. Screw you, You don't have that right. Nobody has that right to do that to anybody. Persecute, take property, kill me.
But I mean, the reality is, if you go back in history, Jews have been a very convenient target for centuries, probably millennia, if you go back to the pogroms in medieval ages. If you come to the First World War, a lot of Jews actually volunteered into the German army and became officers and became leaders and showed that, hey, look here, we are part of this society. We are pulling our part. And they were proud of their service. And many really heroes, Jewish heroes from the First World War, then when the Nazis came on board, they said, now, come on, I fought for the country. That is, don't worry, darling, we don't need that. They will not come after me. Oh, look, I've got the Iron Cross, etc. here from that. Yeah, well, no one gave a damn about that. So
absolutely, you nailed it there. There's the Red Terror in Hungary. There's the Red Terror. There's the White Terror. You needed a scorecard to keep track of who your enemies were. You didn't even know. Half a million Jewish people out of the United States fought in World War II. Already in the United States and free. Like my mom's boyfriend, after my dad's passed, mom was lucky enough to have a boyfriend, and he came from Hungary back to the United States in Florida, and he fought in World War II as well. So 500,000 Jewish people fought in World War II for United States, and I don't even know about the other countries. This is just U.S. statistics alone. I assume England and France and whatever, but that's the stats I know. But yeah, out just like the African Americans fighting in World War II that didn't get the credit, in Vietnam, of course, and
Absolutely.
on and on and on. But we're not even talking about World War II. Never mind World War I. Nobody's ever forgot about that. The Iraq War, right, the Iraq War, the Yom Kippur War. I mean, Korean War. We've forgotten about a lot of it, let alone the Holocaust. So the Holocaust is my little corner, just Hungary, but not just the Holocaust. It's just about the anti-Semitism, about the racism in general. I mean, why do I have to survive just because of my religion, just because of my name? Why do I have to just survive when I can contribute to society more than the vast majority of people, and not brag about it, be modest about it? And it's so sad. It's just sad. I don't know if it's jealousy or if it's just hatred that's ingrained in people's minds over the years. It just doesn't fit well with me, and that's what I'm fighting.
No shit, Sherlock. It doesn't sit well with me either. And I think that's the beautiful thing, that we have got institutions such as Yad Vashem, who are going out there to educate the Simon Wiesenthal Center. There are voices out there, the Jewish World Congress, people who really want to go out there and say, hey guys, just be aware. Because here we are talking about something that happened, 80 years ago? And you could easily say, oh, that's 80 years ago. Who cares? No, wake up, guys. We're seeing it right now. We're seeing it happen again. And that's so crazy for me. I often thought to myself and wondered, why did the Jews not fight back? Why did not more people go onto the barricades? And one guest, a concentration camp survivor I had on my show, actually phrased it really well when she spoke about her parents. They were young parents who had built up their life, who had built up their profession, put everything they had, hard work into that. They didn't know what was around the corner. So therefore, they held back and tried to be good and tried to be fine. And we should not forget that the Nazis alone created, within a short period of time, within 2-3 years, created more than 2,000 laws against Jews. So this was all lawful. It was all, if you are a good German and you follow the law, you just beat up that Jew over there or kill him, and I don't care. This was all law. This was lawful. Was that making it right? Nowadays, we would say no. Yet we are seeing similar things now happening in Israel, with Iran-backed militias and groups attacking left, right, and center. And yet we are having South Africa dragging Israel in front of court for genocide. And you just think, what is happening in this world?
It's appalling. It's really appalling. I mean, I'm glad, the Harvard, the lady from Harvard resigned. That, Dr. I forget what her name is, African-American lady, talked about inclusion, talked about diversity, took forever to make a decision on these protests.
She did not resign for the protests. She did resign because of plagiarism. She did resign of being, she had not really been so productive as what you would expect. And then virtually, half or more of that was plagiarized. So therefore, she was very much under attack for that. I don't think she resigned because of her comments, which refused
not comments, but not comments, but just laissez-faire.
Correct.
A laissez-faire attitude, all right? And same with Penn. And these are our future leaders in the United States. I mean, I don't know what anti-Semitism is like in New Zealand. You can speak to that, or Australia. I hope. I haven't heard much about it, but but it's appalling. I mean, these are our future leaders, and they're letting it go. And it's okay to have free speech, but not to the point where you're picking on other kids and kids that just want to study and just want to go to school. And what the hell do they have to do with Gaza and Palestine and Israel, or let alone World War II and the stuff we're talking about too? Because in the end, their enemies are different, but they're still the same. Nazis, communists, Hamas, Hezbollah, white supremacists, you name your poison. They're all poison to me. If you're going to face me, kill me now, because if you don't, I'm going to keep educating people while I'm still alive. I'm going to still sell books. We're still going to do talks. We talk about anti-Semitism and racism. And you think you're better than me? You ain't better than me. You know, you want me to start talking like I'm from Detroit, man. So, that was a show me. It was a show me. You ain't better than me. I'm telling you, that's you think you better than me? You ain't better than me. I mean, my
Come on.
family worked hard all their lives. We're good people. I got a dentist in Toronto, by the way, his second cousin, and another one, office furniture. They're in Toronto. They've been there all their lives. They were raised Orthodox. They're better Jews than me. This is my ninth inning contribution to the Jewish religion, because I was never that Orthodox, but this is my book is a contribution to say, you know what, I wanted to call the book The Sixth Book of Moses, because my dad's miracles were unbelievable. My dad's Hebrew name, by the way, was Moshe. I'm Eliezer Yosef ben Moshe, Eliezer Joseph, son of Moses. Dad was Moshe ben Yosef. So my dad was Moses ben, son of Joseph. And the luck on this guy, I mean, my dad, not only the luck, the heart and the determination. But he was a doctor. I'm a doctor. I'm a radiologist. That's what I do. I've been contributing to society for 30 years, reading x-rays and CAT scans and MRIs and whatever. And Dad did the same, delivering babies, 10,000 babies in Detroit, plus surgery. And his dad, before that, he was a dentist. He gave away freebies. His dad, even before the war, to the poorest guys in my dad's high school. He used to give the 10 or 20th poorest people in his high school free dental care. So how bad is that? So that deserves to put you off to the gas chambers? I don't think so. I mean,
I think,
you're Jewish, you're screwed. I mean,
the problem is, I mean, God, ideally, this should be part of every religion. It's certainly part of Islam, to give 10% of your income to the poor. It's from the tithing in the Christian faith. In the Jewish faith, it is there, the 10%. So this should be, in theory, it should not be distinguishing religion to religion. But it is, obviously, there are maybe groups of people who are stronger believing in doing the right thing when no one is watching, showing integrity, showing authenticity, and doing the right things, compared with maybe others. Here you are. I mean, you seem... Okay, I need to be careful now, because if we just listen to the media, it's all doom and gloom. And I don't think actually it is as crazy and as nuts that as the media makes out. Yes, there will be anti-Semitism, but I think if you were to go into a big comedy show, there will be people of all kind of faith, all kind of skin color, all kind of beliefs will be there laughing their heads off with regards to the comedian and show this commonality. So I think there will be many people who think, oh my God. But here you are, there are voices like you, which are probably not so common. And then there are far more voices out there, free Palestine and from the river to the sea, and so on and so on. Far more if you look at the many people going to demonstrations in the various countries around the world and cities around the world. How can you speak up? How can you amplify? How do you see your role in these hard times? How can we change the world? How can we make the world better?
Well, great question. Fortunately, 99% of the people, I think, are normal, in my terms, normal, where they're not violent, they're tolerant of other religions, and I'm going to stick with that. It's 1 to 2% of the people. So that's why, anti-Semitism on the rise. That's a statistic that's up there, but it's an exaggerated statistic because it's not a lot of people. So if it doubles, it's easy to double because it's not a lot of people. But it's still disturbing because it's more people. But most people need to be educated. People that are on probation, people that are arrested for hate crimes, should be made to read books like mine and other authors that write books like mine. I do my book talks. I do podcasts like this. Very important. Here at 11:30 at night, my time, and I'm doing a podcast on a Sunday night, and it just means a lot to me. It's my passion, and ultimately, I want that book to be taught in the classroom. The book might be a little heavy for 8th grade or high school because it's a 400-page book, but certain college history classes, yeshiva, the day schools, and keep lecturing to people so that they'll tell the kids and the grandkids.
Yeah.
Because before you know it, World War II is going to be forgotten, just like we forgot about World
Absolutely.
War I and the Civil War. And I don't know, has New Zealand ever had a war? It's lifetime. I don't know. I don't know that much about the history of New Zealand and Australia. I assume you're so far away, nobody dare.
Oh, just take it easy. Since I'm
Sure
German,
you've had your wars.
man, I'm German. Come on, okay. And
Germany, Germany's another thing. Yeah.
we have been in the middle of it
Germans were
all.
aggressive.
We often
Early
enough
20th
started it.
century,
Come on.
brutally aggressive. So German, you moved, so you got the hell out of there. So you get it.
But I mean, that
no,
is the beautiful thing, because I am German, and I was brought up in Germany, and went to school in the 60s, 70s, 80s. We had the collective guilt rammed down our throat. There was no chance of not learning about it. And I actually find that a wonderful thing. So therefore, there are probably not many books that I have not read about the Holocaust, etc., because I wanted really to know what the hell was going on then and try to make sense out of it. Now, not that I ever made sense out of it, but I understand more the nuances and etc., what was happening. But
well, kudos to Germany, because Germany actually, with all of this going on, what I've seen is they're really on Israel's side. They're really on they try to make amends. They try to move it along. Same with the United States and Japan's relationship, for example, after World War II. They finally decided, you know what, we're friends. We don't have to be enemies anymore. With whatever's going on. I mean, it's awful, but no, I appreciate that about Germany. Europe, I mean, I don't know. Like, I didn't even think writing this book. I started this book 4 or 5 years ago. Dad's autobiography, pencil and paper to typewriter to computer to disc, just sitting there collecting dust. And Dad dies and Mom dies, and then I pick up the book. A historian friend gives me the book, and I'm like, I look at this book, and I look at the story, and I say, oh my God, it just resonated so much that why does my dad have to do all this running? Why does he have to hide? Why does he have to disguise his identity just because he's Jewish? My dad was a badass. He was a good athlete. They kicked him off the swim team because he was Jewish. He got kicked out of high school because he was Jewish. Couldn't get into med school because he was Jewish until they had a quota after World War II because they were short of Jewish people. So they accepted 10% of Jewish people into the medical schools in Hungary, Budapest mostly probably. But and I don't know why is that? I mean, we've been through this in the 60s, and I was just reading, MLK. We got Martin Luther King Day here in the United States coming tomorrow. It's a big, it's a holiday, national holiday. The stock market's closed and the banks are closed and whatever. And I post about it because that guy had a great story. And his speechwriter wrote that the Jews and the blacks were so tight back then. And my mom even used to say the Jews and the blacks need to stick together. And I've always felt that. My high school was 40% black. I was one of 3 Jews in my high school, maybe 300, 400, 500 kids in a class, maybe 2,000 kids in my high school. I was one of 3 Jews. Didn't matter. We got picked on in 9th grade when we were young kids because we were just kids, and we got picked on for that. But being Jewish or any of that, never. It was never an issue. You carved your niche. I was a smart kid. I was a good athlete. People started to. They liked you for you. They liked you for who you were.
Sure.
And nobody knew my mom and dad. Now they do with the book. So,
my friend, look at you. You're not really the typical victim, are you? Okay, so come on. So I think there's a lot to be said about how we conduct ourselves, and even if you are Jewish and even display all the traditional features of an Orthodox Jew, if you're built like a brick shit house, people will think twice if they want to take you on, yes or no. It doesn't matter if you have got a head cover on or not. Okay, so bottom line is, I think we need to speak out. I think we can't necessarily use our own immediate experiences, but we need to accept that there's actually so much out there that is nowadays really falsified historic memory, It is so important nowadays, especially books like you, because in Russia, the history books are changed. Certain information is being wiped out from the data sets. Very soon we will come to a time where the winner truly has written the history, which may be very, very, very different than what really has occurred. And we see
Very
that
sad. What are they going to do? To erase the Bible? I mean, they're taking the Bible off the shelves, they're taking books off the shelves. Well, I'll tell you what, brother, they're going to replace them with books like mine. You know what? And I'll go there head and shoulders. I'll go to every library in this frickin' country. I'll swim to New Zealand if I have to. Oh my God, the Pacific Ocean, I can't imagine. And we'll replace it with books like mine,
Yes.
you know?
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
you know what? It is what it is. When I'm gone, what about? There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I have grandkids. They've been to the Holocaust Museum. My book's on sale at the Holocaust Museum. They showed pictures. They've told the people about me. I'm still in works for maybe doing book signing there and elsewhere. Hey, invite me to New Zealand for you got a Holocaust Museum over there? Invite me, I'll come.
Oh, well done.
That's a plan, but you know, I'll go to everybody that invites me. You know, it's an important topic. And 5 years ago, if you knew me, you'd never say this guy. I was just science and math and radiology. This guy never gave a shit about the Holocaust, and probably true. And my mom really, she talked about it. My mom, my dad not so much because he was busy. He's either delivering babies or you know, cooking steaks and chicken paprikash, whatever. And and he used to love he loved his food, my mom and dad, and they loved their education, their history, and but they also educated about the Holocaust. I'm like, enough, Ma, enough, you know, enough.
Really?
But,
so they spoke about it. Good.
But once my mom passed, and I got the copy of the disc from my dad and mom, and put it in my computer and started reading it. I got the buzz, I got the zap, I got Superman's kryptonite. It just kind of summoned me. It called out to me, and so this is my charge now. And 61 years old. I'm hoping I get another 20 or 30 years on this glorious planet that's deteriorating quickly. Here, even in Florida, we've got a lot of rain.
You're a radiologist. You have got already this radiating smile. Come on.
I'm doing my best to fight the hates. There's no reason for it. You know, I mean, whether it's your neighbor or a local government, we talked about this. I mean, somebody can make your life. Home Depot. Do you have Home Depot in New Zealand? Home Depot.
Negative, but
a lemon. And I'm fighting it at just a fridge. I bought houses, I bought cars, no problem. Never had a problem. I got a fridge that's no good. God forbid they try to trade in a fridge. And it's like, not because I'm Jewish, it's just people are avaricious. There's all these man-made things, taxes, inflation, insurance, you know, war, pestilence. No, not pestilence. Pestilence is probably a god. But my point is, it's not in the Torah, as our friend would say. It's not in the Torah. All this bullshit, not in the Torah. This is not. So I'm fighting this because you want to hate me. You got to know me. I'll take you to a concert. I'll take you to a ball game. My team won today, by the way. My football team, the Lions. Their first time in 30 years. You know what a miracle is? Miracle in itself. And
excellent.
Just born and raised there, you know. So, but anyway, it's not. Hate's got to go away. There's no, I don't hate, I barely know you. I've met you. I like you already. I appreciate you bringing me on. You know, you got a good sub. I know what you're doing here. And my steps to sobriety. So my mom and dad, they could have taken to the bottle. They could have smoked and drank and drugged, never touched a drop. They brought two bottles of rum to bribe the border guards when their final escape in Vienna, not in Vienna, they needed bus tickets, they needed train tickets, so they needed a loan, and they paid the guys back. And they also paid the priest that helped them out. That's a great story too. They paid the priest every year until he passed away for helping them escape.
Oh, beautiful.
But my mom and dad, they could have gone to I mean, you hear these Vietnam vets, unfortunately, and I don't blame them. Like if I was a Vietnam vet or I went through what they went through, shit, I might be hitting it hard too. You know, I don't know how they did it, but they, you know, my dad would wine spritzer once in a while, a Bloody Mary once in a while. My mom, oh mom, it's your birthday. You don't want a glass of wine? You know, you had to, and it's amazing how resilient they were, and you know, and after all they went through, and it's a lesson that hopefully your audience picks up too, because I don't know how I could do it or how most people could do it. Whatever they went through, brutal, and just, you know, happy just happy to be alive, happy to work, happy to be in a free country and start all over again. And mom and dad both passed away, unfortunately, you know, rest in peace. They'd be appalled. They're turning over in their graves right now. I mean, with what's going on. I mean, there's just no, who would have thought anti-Semitism on the rise already? It hasn't been 100 years since the end of the Holocaust. It hasn't been 100 years. We can't wait that long to hate each other. You know, it's got to be that quick. I mean, really?
Exactly.
Screw you.
Exactly. Yeah, true. True. I love it that you're so outspoken. I love it, and I would like to say thank you for you writing this book, taking the time, making the effort, and going out there to speak out. Because hopefully, you are able to just show a different side of the coin, different side of the story, and maybe it creates a bit more understanding and a bit more questioning of otherwise stupid platitudes and stupid same old bullshit.
On and on. But the thing about my story, dad was lucky to be young. He's lucky to be youthful and helpful to the Nazis and whoever else. So he was in forced labor camp, saved his life. I mean, the fact that he was useful, the fact that he escaped a couple times at the right time makes the book more of an adventure. And not just twice, four times, four escapes. He actually missed an escape, went to the wrong train station. This is under communist Hungary. Everybody who made that train got arrested, including his medical school roommate. The frickin' luck on this guy. I don't know if you know the Sopranos. The luck on this guy. He missed the thing. He felt like he missed the whole boat, and lucky him. So there's that. But no, I appreciate what you're saying. It's so hard to get all the stories. You get it. How do you describe a guy's life in 400 pages or in half an hour? You can't. But his side story, his own little story, and all of the Holocaust, you know, people being taken away and burned and tortured and shot and whatever he had going saved his life. And when they escaped, finally, their first escape, they were worried about that death march because the death marches didn't just happen in the Far East and the Pacific, which we heard about, many of them, but they also happen with these forced labor guys. And
absolutely.
My dad had that bad feeling, and, you know, the war was almost over. And he was at this point where you end up in Austria, you're screwed. If Germany wins, you're screwed. If Russia wins, you're screwed. You know, you don't know where you want to end up. You want to be in Hungary, you want to be in Austria. You're a Jewish guy, you know, you're screwed. And 20 years before that, 10 years, you're a Jewish guy, you're worried about what's going to hurt you. And why would you have to do that? And even the communists said, what are we going to do with the Jewish people, the survivors? And it's just not, if we did that nowadays, if we had a war, God forbid, in this country, we said African Americans or Asian Americans or Muslim Americans, we said, maybe New Zealand, same thing. If we ended a war and we had to decide what to do with a certain group of people, everybody say you're racist. It's ridiculous. Let's just let them get educated. Let them live their lives, you know, give them a break. I mean, so. But it's all there on paper. I mean, I'm lucky to be able to spread the word. Lucky to have good parents. It's the other story. I'm lucky to live in a free country. As much as people are disgruntled about, you know, the United States got their problems. We do with the immigration and our, you know, national debt and crime and, you know, defunding the police. And I'm sure New Zealand, Australia got your own problems too. And I mean, I know very little about New Zealand. I'd love to learn more, but
it's all cool, brother. It's all cool.
God bless you. You know, you guys, to me, you're out in the middle of this beautiful paradise. I just think of New Zealand and Australia as one big atoll with beautiful nature and happy people and beautiful women. And
we have got a lot of problems as well. But having said that, it pales in comparison to maybe the extreme racial divide that we see, racial and other divide in your society. Having said that, if we go to Germany, 25% of the east states of Germany are voting extreme right. So we see the same shit happening in
including Hungary.
I was about to say Orban, take Turkey. There are so many other countries where we see exactly the same shit happening again and again and again. And therefore it's so important that we speak out and that we raise awareness. And for that, I'm ever so grateful that you came today onto my show, man. Rob, where can
me?
Absolutely. Rob, where can people find you?
What's that? I appreciate that. I want to meet Mr. Orban. I want to take him for a hot tub, and if Hungary has a hot tub,
No,
I'll
you're
take
not
him
allowed
to
to push him under.
24 hours. No, that's not my style. I'm a doctor, so that's not my style. But in the back of my head, I got a little Sopranos on one side.
Yeah, exactly.
I got a little love the Sopranos, and I got a little bit of sympathy and medicine. And so
I've
I'm
got
not into
friends who
killing
have good
people.
friends.
Yeah, your friends, yeah, a friend of a friend, not a friend of ours. My dad had a great friend, Nick Orban, back from Hungary. My parents loved the Hungarian people, Polish, Greek, Czechoslovakian, all in Michigan. All the Eastern Europeans, they came, Chicago, Cleveland,
Exactly.
Detroit, New York, Boston. And believe me, my parents met all of them.
Beautiful. Hey, look, man, if people want to know more about
That's how they
you,
were, that's.
where can they find you? Where can they find your book?
Okay. All right, my book. So Not a Real Enemy. Can you buy this in New Zealand? I don't know.
Absolutely. Yes, we have got books here. Yes.
I've had a couple of reviews. I've had a couple of reviews from Australia. So I assume Amazon would be your best bet. So it's called Not a Real Enemy: The True Story of a Hungarian Jewish Man's Fight for Freedom. It's been out for about a year. We've won 4 awards. I'm not going to brag that much. I don't even know what to do with that, but I'm grateful for the recognition of the importance of the book and how well it's written. And I thank my co-author, Janice Harper, a Christian lady, Michigan State, which is my home state. She's a PhD now in Washington. Very great job helping me with that. Grateful for Amsterdam Publishers, Lisbeth Hink. Amsterdam Publishers, mostly they do the Holocaust books, but this is more than that because it also covers, communist Hungary. So you can read Not a Real Enemy by Robert J. Wolfe, MD, or Not a Real Enemy. My website is robertjwolfemd.com if you want to read more about the revolution and see some videos. I've got a YouTube channel. I'm on all the social media, Twitter and YouTube and Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Find me, buy a copy, tell 10 people about it, tell 100 people about it. Help me fight anti-Semitism, racism. You'll enjoy the book. Hopefully someday it's a movie. Nobody heard about Schindler's List. Everybody reads the book, said it should be a movie. The book, 4 Escapes. Are you kidding me? I can't even. 4 Escapes. I mean, come on. My original title was Hungarian Papillon, the Hungarian butterfly. So if you know the original Papillon, right? Remember Steve McQueen and the movie?
Absolutely.
Devil's Island, but the younger crowd won't know that reference.
Exactly. I was about to say, you just
so my co-author said, Not a Real Enemy. But that's what the Russians described my dad. The night before he escaped, in his dossier, he snuck into the medical staff office and read his dossier, and that's how they described him. It's another story, another discussion. But he was a real enemy. They described him as not a real enemy. But my mom and dad were a real enemy. They loved Hungary, Mother Hungary, but they hated Nazi Hungary. They hated Communist Hungary. They left. And Mother Hungary lost 2 good people. Mom was 13 months away from graduating med school. Dad was a practicing OBGYN. They were talented, nice, contributing people. They were gone. And, that was your loss. I mean, so not a real enemy in the end. They were real enemies. And it's just a beautiful book. And I'm very grateful to be able to share it. And my parents wrote this thing frickin' 1970s. We're talking about 50 years ago, as though they knew, like Superman's kryptonite, that I would rewrite this. And I could just hear my mom with her Hungarian accent saying, "You couldn't write this book while we were still alive." I could hear that Hungarian Jewish guilt is out there, and like, out there. But that's just how it is. I mean,
it is.
And my dad, rest in peace. I mean, what are you going to do? This is all I got to give to I'm the only child of only children. It's my gift to my family and the legacy. And you're going to help me sell Auckland, Wellington. Help me sell
the book tour.
Books,
yeah, exactly.
And then, I don't know what anti-Semitism is like in your country. I assume I don't hear much about it. I assume it's
no, look. It is
peaceful people, right? But I don't know.
But we also got young, stupid people who are at university and who are influenced with maybe the wrong ideas, who wouldn't know Hamas from Hezbollah if it bites them in the ass. And yet they're quite happy to spout phrases that they don't even know what they are really meaning. So I think that is universal. Where young people just don't know much. And And that's
Well,
again.
I appreciate guys like you helping me spread the word.
Mm,
And
exactly.
Podmatch is new to me, but I've done a lot of podcasts, but I got a lot more coming, and appreciate. Here
Brilliant.
we are, Sunday night. My football team won. I should be sleeping. And we are
Rob,
talking life and death, and but I appreciate that. So you help me spread the word. We're going to educate the kids one at a
exactly.
time.
Rob,
We'll close
you're an
this.
amazing man. Keep going on your journey. I wish you all the energy, and I wish you that you reach so many more ears and eyes, and make this world a little bit better place with each and every encounter. Thank you so much for being a guest on my show, and you guys out there, look after yourself and think after that quite heavy talk today. Think about how you can work against extremism in whatever shape or color you're facing it. It might be antisemitism, quite real, or it might be other persecution of your faith in other parts of the world. Whatever it may be, just find the commonalities and try to have a laugh and try to enjoy food together, and very soon maybe we can find more commonalities than things that pull us apart. That would be my wish for 2024 and for many years to come.
I completely agree. Educate the grandkids. Keep
Exactly.
it going. Keep us, malfeasance it's just not, it always ends badly, so
Exactly.
God bless you. Thanks for having me on. And
always, my brother. Always, my brother. Look after yourself, guys. Bye.
Bye.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Trying